We are tired, we are hurting, our people need justice, and it's enough. We watched a man die underneath another white man's knee for 9 minutes.
But it's been reaching a boiling point for me, and it hurts. All lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
And we're not talking about incremental change anymore. We need dramatic, big, gargantuan change.
We do not need the police to be killing us every day. That is not okay. Our lives matter, period.
Good evening, I'm Malcolm Johnson. Over the past few weeks, I've walked with and talked with a number of protesters, and our digital team has done just the same in a project called Protesters in Portrait. Tonight, we're sharing with you what protesters have told us about the importance of right now, why they're making their voices heard, and standing their ground that change is long overdue, all in their own words. We begin tonight in Boston's Jamaica Plain neighborhood, where protesters say no matter how tired they are, they have to fight because there's work that needs to be done.
For years and years, the police brutality has gone on. 600 people have been killed in just one state in the last 7 years, and it's not okay. They do not need to be funding the police departments millions of dollars each year to be killing us. That is not okay. Our lives matter, period.
We are hurting, our people need justice, and it's enough. We watched a man die underneath another white man's knee for 9 minutes. Do you know how traumatizing that is to see? We're beyond tired, but we can't stop fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're tired of fighting, but we can't stop, you know?
It rips my soul out. I want to be a healthcare professional. My goal is to be a doctor eventually, and to see the things that happen not only to George Floyd, but to innocent protesters, people who aren't doing anything at the hands of the police. It breaks my heart. And I'm not going to say all police are bad people. That's not my position. There are plenty of good ones out there. But we need to stop this rhetoric, this insane brotherhood, where if one cop sees another cop do something wrong, they don't say anything. That cannot be a thing anymore. We cannot have that in this country anymore.
You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening more than you're speaking right now. And I think ideally the best thing that you can do is listen to people of color. Don't expect them to educate you. Go out there, find resources, educate yourselves.
We never said only Black Lives Matter, but Black lives, they live with fear, and they should not have to live and be considered like a threat. They need to have the freedom just like everybody else.
I'm totally against looting. I'm totally against the violence. But if we had not had the protestation that we've been having, those 3 officers would not have been arrested. He had nightmare, actually. We went to one of these protests. 2 o'clock in the morning, he came to my bed saying that, "Daddy, I'm scared." We don't want my kids to go out like that, no.
I have a 9-year-old son, and it's very important to me that he knows that his mother stands outside of the 4 walls we live in to represent him as a Black male.
Clearly the system's broken. Let's have everything be equal. That's what America stands for. So let's practice what you preach, you know?
I'm here on behalf of all my Black and brown students, families. It's our job to use what we have, in this case it's our skin tone, to be a physical, metaphorical, literal barrier and safeguard them and protect them.
The point is, if you don't have a unified team, you're going to lose the game. Our own country starting to attack itself. We have to stand together to be unified as a people, as a society.
And they're thinking that we're trying to cause an riot, cause violence. That's not what's happening. We're here protesting peacefully because we see a change and we need it to happen.
When we come back, children understanding the Black Lives Matter movement and the pain too many families have felt. We've seen parents bringing their own children to recent protests, and at a silent vigil in West Roxbury, many of them got emotional when they told us about the fear they feel every day, not just for themselves, but their own children, and whether they'll return home at night.
In the English language is over 1 million words. If you lose your wife, you're a widower. If you lose your husband, you're a widow. If you lose your parents, you are an orphan. What's the word for someone who loses their child? We don't even have a word in the English language for that.
One of my black friends has a brother that passed away. His name was DJ Henry. 10 years ago, he went to Pace University, and basically something similar that happened to George Floyd happened to him. So we've been kind of like supporting that for 10 years now, and now it's like worldwide, which is amazing. It's time for change, and I think our generation is the one that's going to do that.
Get rid of this stupid freaking racism BS that is happening. That's all. I need everyone to feel safe, and what matters. It shouldn't be your skin color that matters. It should be you person, who you are as a person. So
I have a child who's biracial, and so she's 22 years old. She's fabulous. I am so proud of her. And as a mother, it's my duty to help protect all children, but especially those that are been marginalized and oppressed.
I have 2 daughters, and I just want to go home to them every night. Like when I see them and I see these things happen to black men in America, I think like, will I be there to see them grow up and be adults and live their lives? Like, it's just a scary thing. It's very surreal. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. See those black men as your sons, your daughters, and imagine if that happened to your kid. Would Black Lives Matter to you?
I really hope that they will set Congress, or the law will be created where there's some level of accountability, just like every other profession. We explained to her, and she came with, people are being mean, which the police shouldn't be mean to other people.
What were they being mean about?
About people's skin color.
And how does that make you feel, that people are being mean because of their skin color?
Sad.
Every person, no matter what you've been taught, has a right to live and to breathe. And if you don't see that, and if you don't know it and believe in it, then you're not living life either.
They were built on an unjust foundation that's long been cracked, and it's time to bring it down and change it.
I want to see a total transformation of our criminal justice system. Some folks have used the term defunding the police, which a lot of people I think are getting confused with no public safety. It's about changing the culture and changing the mindset and the hearts of the people in the institutions.
But I've never felt this before. I've never felt this level of energy. We were all in the house for 3 months, and we all saw this. He looked us in our face. George Floyd looked at us while he passed away. And in the United States of America, to think about someone losing their life in public as the whole country watched, I think there's something different. And so now we have to take this kinetic energy that we're getting from the protests and make sure that we legislate it, that we actually change laws, that we change procedures, and if there's people who aren't on our side, that we change the people who are sitting in those seats.
Hundreds call for an end to police brutality at a march in Roxbury. When we come back, protesters share the violence they say their families have experienced from police.
Ten years ago, I had to sue the state of Florida for police brutality, and I ended up winning that case, and only because it was on video. I was shopping at Kmart, and I was feeling sick, so I sat on a cart, and this Caucasian man came over to me and told me, "You don't understand that these carts are not for standing, get up." So he went in the store and he came back with 3 big state troopers, and it was me and my ex-husband. One of the state troopers just automatically grabbed him by the neck, put him up in the air, started choking him, Another one grabbed me up off the cart, threw me against the wall. They started dragging him and pounding him down on the pavement, dislocated his shoulder and everything. And they felt like they shouldn't be held accountable for that action. That's why I'm supporting defunding the police. I don't want to spend my tax dollars, my hard work dollars to take another person's kid away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have 2 male sons, and like, I struggle every day in fear for their life because they're dark. And no mother should have to do that.
Simply just waiting outside for a friend going to work. I got arrested one time. They hit me with charges that wasn't even true. Just been pulled over, mistaken identity, multiple different times as a child, not even as a teen, and then going to my adulthood, having a car, driving, and being pulled over and then asked, "What's your real name?" Saying that my ID on my identification card is not even my real name. Hands on their guns just to ask me if that was really me on my ID. That's why I'm here today, to help make a change for everybody else in this world that doesn't have to go through those things.
If we don't get it, if we don't get it,
I remember as a kid being 8 years old and my mom being stopped, and her license, she switched purses and her license was in another bag, and the officer coming up to her just being super aggressive, like, "Are you sure you have a license? Are you sure you have a license?" And I just remember little instances like that and experiences that we face as people of color. It sticks with us. This anger that is inside of us has been fueling for centuries. And I think that's what people need to understand.
Personally, I have never experienced the brutality of the police firsthand, although I have experienced it secondhand to friends of mine and people that I've known that have been kind of singled out because of their skin color. And I wasn't come after at all, and I was in the same situation. Why is it that I'm any less of a threat than someone with a darker skin color than me?
I don't think that someone needs a personal connection to feel like they can be involved in this. Policing shouldn't mean brutality, it shouldn't mean violence, it should mean connection with the community.
It says serve and protect, not serve and kill. That's what they're doing. It took George Floyd to die to bring the whole world together.
It takes longer to be a barber than a police officer. I know people who graduated the police academy in 5.5 months. I'm not gonna say every cop's bad, definitely not, you know what I mean? But there shouldn't be any bad apples in that business, period.
Boston and Cambridge has been a huge part of my development, and seeing it change so much, not only just with gentrification, but with police brutality and surveillance of CVE programs and these violent prevention programs, it actually has turned to do so much worse for our communities, and it continues to cause harm.
As a society, every problem we've faced, our solution has been police. And it hasn't worked. We're still facing these issues. Our crime rates are still high.
This is 2020. It's really upsetting. This is still continuing to happen. We are always advertising diversity, and we're not doing enough to own up for this.
We're dealing with a triple pandemic. The first being racist police violence and white supremacy, rooted in a system that's all about profit, not people's needs. 2 is COVID, 3 is millions of unemployed people. That's where the struggle is moving, I think, to unite all of these issues. And when we unite and fight together, we can win.
And if you're one of those people that's like, all lives matter, it's okay, all lives matter. But all lives don't matter until Black lives matter, because if all lives matter, I don't see white people on a day-to-day basis talk about my son never came home.
In just 60 seconds, the heartbreak in their voices. Mothers who have lost their sons at the hands of police say now is the time for their cases to be reopened and justice to be served.
We have a pandemic of police violence that is not uncommon to Boston. We have Usama Rahim, Terrence Coleman, Dennis Reynoso, Bo Ramsey White, who have been killed here in Boston and have not gotten justice. So I'm out here in solidarity with the families and solidarity with all Black lives who have been lost to the racist police state terror.
Reopen the case! Reopen the case! your job. Do 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 your job.
I go in the room. The two doctors are there. I said, my son was shot. Where's my son? And what part of the body was he shot? They put their heads down, kind of. They said, I'm sorry, he died on the way to the hospital. No, he died in that hallway. When his eyes were in the back of his head, he was already gone.
I've been working with Mass Action Against Police Brutality. They're the first ones that contacted us after my son was murdered. My son, Usama Rahim, he was 26 years old. They refused to let us know who it was that killed him. I hope they can't sleep at night until they come forward and admit that they did something wrong. Why did they have to get him in a parking lot 7 a.m. in the morning, surround him and shoot him? I want justice, no more qualified immunity. You do something wrong, you're responsible for what you do.
You know, part of this protest isn't just about the police, it's about the prosecutors, it's about the judges, even juries wanting to live in a society where, you know, people are free to be. They're just getting away with murder, so you just gotta end that.
This is 200 years of systemic racism, oppression, and systematic, just destruction of my culture, of my people, and of all people of color at this particular time. So we're out here because we're tired. We want our justice, and we want it. And we're going to keep marching every day, making everything inconvenient for everybody who's thinking that it's all right to go to sleep, knowing that a man was killed in the street, and nobody did nothing.
There have just been too many generic statements about how sorry we feel and that this is just the beginning. And I mean, today is what, June 16th? Today is the beginning for you? Like, are you kidding me? You have so much work to do, you don't even know. And so I thought it was just important to be out here in the street to remind folks that even though we have to be away from each other in some spaces, this is the time that we need to come together.
I want him to grow up in a world that's fighting to be beyond racism and be for equality. I think it'd be a lot harder for a bunch of police to start spraying pepper spray or beating up people if there's kids and there's whole families in there of all colors and race and creeds. To strengthen numbers, strengthen diversity, and we have privilege, that's just how it is, and we want to use it to help everyone else who doesn't have that same privilege right now.
All this police brutality going on, it's just not right. I've seen so many people die from police brutality, my friends personally, and I couldn't see it happen anymore. The point of protesting is changing the world. You know, we have to do something to change it.
It can happen to anybody. More likely if you're a minority, but it could happen to any of you.
And finally tonight, people commemorating Juneteenth share with us what it means to them.
To me, Juneteenth means freedom and the opposite side of that coin, which is struggle. Freedom has never come without struggle. We still are not free. We still are not free not to be shot down by state power. At the inception of this country, when the Declaration of Independence was being written and penned, Thomas Jefferson was sneaking into the slave quarters and raping Sally Hemings. So July 4th means not a damn thing. So we need our own day as well, and this is our day.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
To me personally, this means a recognition of black people as American citizens. This is a representation of the United States being able to actually say United States, because now you're including everyone. Now, obviously that's your, because de facto, look at us now, we're still here fighting for basic rights.
As a black person living in America, you know, these are the issues that we've been trying to raise our whole lives, and I feel like we're finally being heard. And all we want is equality and, you know, the same freedoms that everyone else has been, you know,
celebrating on the 4th of July that we honestly don't have.
I wanted to support my wife today. She's Haitian. Personally, I'm hurt that this is happening in our country, and I kind of feel like growing up, I never experienced any of this. I had no idea about it. I just, was told, oh, there's no more racism in America anymore, and I didn't know. So I'm trying to educate myself and be an ally as best I can.
Juneteenth is the day when the last slaves in America discovered that they were truly free. And so for me, as a Black Christian feminist, I've always celebrated. This is the first time where I've seen so many white people be so informed and engaged, and I'm thankful for their presence and support.
The systemic racism that's been plaguing the world for a very long time, people are now more aware of that, and that is, I think, has been the catalyst for what we see now, which is way more people who are not Black Americans celebrating today and really supporting the Black community. And I feel like that is extremely powerful because Black people cannot end systemic racism. We are not the ones who are going to be able to push this over the edge. We need allyship from other communities. And so I think Juneteenth this year is definitely a greater show of allyship than I've ever seen before.
I'm out here because I want to learn. It's crazy to me that we talk about like American history, but we really just gloss over everyone else that's not white and pretend that like they're not part of the history. Like I think there's a lot that should be taught in schools, and it's weird that the majority that I'm learning is through Instagram and through social media. I did learn about Juneteenth just this week, and I think that's terrible.
I've also never commemorated a Juneteenth before. Like me, there's plenty of people who aren't aware of it, and the first step is raising awareness. And while Juneteenth is certainly an important date, there are still people enslaved. None of us are free until all of us are free.
Honestly, the people that just refuse to just open their eyes, I just think that they're not human beings, that they don't know, like they're just not part of humanity, because if you don't want to see another human being that's just the same exact as you succeed, then you're not here for the right reason.
But like imagine your way, way back ancestors being worked to death, being whipped and beaten and being treated like property, like cattle. Imagine that. How could you not celebrate the end of that for your people? How do you not celebrate the end of the degradation of an entire sector of humanity?
We have to get this basic understanding of the United States. We have to take on what our identity is supposed to be. It's supposed to be unity. And if you're gonna fight against people that are fighting against injustice and obvious injustice, you're not for United States. No matter how patriotic you claim to be, you're just not doing what a true patriot would do.
We will continue to listen to protesters and their calls for change and share them with you. Thanks for watching. I'm Malcolm Johnson.